Have you ever wondered what a performance review for an AI actually looks like? Well, that is exactly what we're doing today. We're going to peek over the shoulder of some engineers as they grade their own AI, and we'll see how it doesn't just make mistakes, it actually learns from them.
So that's really the big question, isn't it? For you or me, a mistake can feel like a failure. But for an AI, a mistake is something totally different. It's a perfect little piece of data. It's a clue that makes the entire system smarter. For an AI, the error is the lesson. And this is our subject for today. Everybody, meet Spectra. Let's think of it as our employee for this explainer. Its job? To predict the outcomes of professional soccer matches. And right now, we're about to dive into its latest weekly performance report. Let's do it.
So we're going to review its performance just like any manager would. We'll start with the big picture stuff. What did Spectra get right and where did it totally miss the mark?
Now, if you just look at this table, you'd think, wow, Spectra absolutely crushed it this week. We're looking at 5 key matches here, and you can see it correctly predicted the general outcome, what they call the outcome band, in 4 of them. I mean, that's a really strong start.
To put a number on it, that's an 80% success rate for the week. Honestly, if your job was predicting the future and you were right 80% of the time, you'd be thrilled, right? But for an AI, well, that's really just scratching the surface.
Because a simple win-loss record, it doesn't tell the whole story. The real question is how right or how wrong were the predictions. And for that, we need to get a little more sophisticated.
And that's where the Brier Score comes in. It's a way to measure not just if you were right, but also how confident you were. Think of it like a weather forecast. If a meteorologist confidently says there's a 90% chance of sun, and then it pours all day, they get penalized way more than if they'd only said there was a 60% chance. Being confident and wrong is the biggest sin here.
So what was Spectra's Brier Score for the week? The report shows a score of 0.266. Okay, but what on earth does that number actually mean?
This chart lays it all out for us. You can see a score under 0.25 is excellent, over 0.30, and the model needs a serious tune-up. So at 0.266, Spectra is sitting right in that strong and publishable zone. It's a good solid performance, but there's always room for improvement.
And this is where the real work, the really interesting stuff begins. The most valuable insights don't come from that 80% it got right. No, they come from digging deep into that one big miss and finding the subtle little errors that were hidden even in the wins. This is the constructive feedback part of the review.
So after combing through all the data, the engineers found 3 clear recurring weaknesses. These weren't just random flukes, they were systemic patterns. Let's break down what each of these actually means. Okay, so the first issue was goal environment inflation. In simple terms, Spectra was a bit of an optimist. It consistently thought games would be higher scoring than they actually turned out to be.
Here are the engineers' own notes. Now, what does this mean? XG just stands for expected goals. And basically, what they're saying is that after a team scored an early goal, the model wasn't lowering its overall goal prediction fast enough. It didn't fully account for how teams tend to play more defensively once they get a lead.
The second problem really jumped out in that one big miss, the Sunderland versus Leeds match. Spectra just completely underestimated how much of an attacking threat the away team, Leeds, really was.
So here's the key. The model had a blind spot. It wasn't properly valuing away teams that are built to be really dangerous on the counterattack. It looked at their basic stats and just undervalued their potential to create huge chances when a game opens up.
And the final weakness? It was being way too confident in BTTS, which just stands for both teams to score. The model frequently predicted that both teams would score even in games where one team had a truly elite defense.
In other words, the AI just wasn't adjusting its prediction enough after a top defensive team got an early lead. And logically, this makes sense, right? Once a great defense is protecting a 1-0 lead, the chances of the other team scoring go way down. Spectra's internal logic wasn't reacting to that game state strongly enough. So, the problems have been clearly diagnosed. What happens next? Well, this isn't about shrugging and just hoping for better luck next week. No, this is about engineering a solution. So let's take a look at the upgrade plan. The engineers laid out this incredibly precise 5-step plan for the next version, Spectra V8.19. Dynamic suppression, that's to target the goal inflation. The aggression index and draw logic, that's to address the away team miss. And the BTS reweighting and new league profiles, that's going to fix the overconfidence. Every problem has a direct solution.
And let's just zoom in on that second point, because it is so clever. They're not just tweaking a number here. They are inventing a completely new feature. This aggression index is designed specifically to spot those dangerous counterattacking away teams that the old model was totally blind to. It's creating new logic to fix a very specific problem.
So what's the final verdict on Spectra's performance? After looking at the wins, the losses, the metrics underneath, and the plan for improvement, what grade does it get?
The final grade is an A-. So why not a perfect A? Well, because there was a clear structural miss and a few of those recurring flaws. But why so high? Because the overall accuracy was strong. And, more importantly, every single flaw that they found is now being systematically addressed with a clear, actionable plan.
And this really brings us to the most important takeaway. A brittle model is one that works fine until it hits a situation it doesn't understand, and then it just breaks. But a mature model, like this one, is designed to learn. Its errors aren't failures. They are the curriculum for its own evolution.
Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. This entire process, diagnosing these nuanced errors and inventing creative new logic to solve them, that was all designed and executed by humans. So, when an AI learns from its mistakes, maybe the most important thing getting smarter isn't the code. Maybe it's the human ingenuity that makes all that learning possible in the first place.